Gear up, because this is the Fuel Your Marketing podcast, designed to accelerate sales and grow your business. Let's welcome your host, Arti Sharma.
Hey everyone, so glad to be back with you and so excited to talk about an important area of business which we all need to be kind of paying attention to as our business continues to grow and scale, or we start the business. So think about this. How many times have you loved some product or service only to find out later that they weren't what they seemed? Or, you find out that the management or one of the employee was involved in some sort of a scandal. They were using wrong products. What was your first reaction? If you're anything like most customers these days, you probably dumped the company and found a new one that you could trust more. You felt that they heard you and cared for you. That's what I want to talk about today. Building trust with your customers and how essential it is for your success. The number one way to do that is to work hard at being transparent with both your employees and the public. I read it somewhere. You want to treat your employees how you want them to treat your customers. So companies with a transparent persona keep approximately 94% of their customers. That's worth definitely going after, right? So what exactly does it mean to be transparent as a company? There's a lot of aspects to it. Honestly, it's a very tricky thing, but it's one that's worth your time. Who wouldn't want such high customer retention? Especially if you're in a business where there's membership involved. And even if there isn't, repeat customers is 80% of most businesses' revenue. And you definitely want your customers to come back to you and also have such an awesome experience that they kind of refer, you to their customers or their network. Honesty is a great first step. Tell your customers what you're doing in your business. Get them to see behind the scenes. Use every instance of it. For example, if you're going out for lunch, you're having a strategy session, you're having some sort of a team building day, or you're at a conference with your team. Give that out there. Put that in your newsletter, put that out in your social media, share your plans for the future, talk about your new employees and what they'll be doing. How are you looking at expanding your customer base or your employee base? What kind of new products, licenses, services are you introducing? Again, essentially discuss your plans for growth and what you've made and why you've made those plans. Involve your customers into that. For example, let's think about an apple cider mill or a bakery. Many a times when you go to a restaurant, they have glass windows where the chef probably is kind of making the food or, the cuisine right there and then. So many of these places also have a storefront, especially a bakery or an apple cider mill. And that has a window that shows everything that's happening behind the scenes, right? It draws people's attention and keeps any mystery out of the process of making the delicious apple drink or that amazing cake or cookies. So it also has that added bonus of making anyone watching craving kind of a little bit of that stuff, right? So when you give that insight into your business to your customers, there is an elevated trust. They understand that you're trying to help serve your customers better by growing, by adding those new employees to the mix. So ask yourself, how can you make that window into your business? How can you get people watching with delight at what you do and wanting to have a piece of that pie? So if you're in an office, take people for a virtual tour of your space. Interview your employees and show them hard at work, right? Do whatever you can to bring people into your business. And that's where the first step of transparency could begin. Now, no need to give away your trade secrets, and that's not what I'm asking for. But the more of an outsider feels like an insider, the better off you are. Just make sure you don't share too much. If you've got a special sauce at your restaurant, go ahead and give people an idea of how you make it. Just don't hand them the whole recipe. You're not going to give that away. Again, tease them a little bit. Now, next, whenever you are sharing information with the public, don't get fancy with it. Speak plainly and simply. Keeping it simple is the best way to get understood also. So the easier to digest your info is, the more people would trust what you're saying as well, right? So leave that technical jargon again out of that window. Don't bring that inside the window, and you can just try and get straight to the point. So keep it simple, be honest, be transparent, and this won't just build trust. It will cater to the short attention span also that we have in this very, very fast-paced information age. The quicker you get people to what they want to hear or need to know, the better it is for you and for them, right? So the simple and honest, I think, feedback, information sharing is important for companies who are ready to kind of gain that elevated trust with their customers. Especially if you, whenever your company is launching a new product, giving them behind the scenes of that new launch and making them part of that product launch actually gets you higher engagement and higher uptake on your product when it's out in the market as well. So especially for product launches, this could be a great way to build that trust and engagement as well. And when people trust you more, you don't just share your wins with them. That's when they build and win their trust. You also share your losses or failures or lessons that you've learned, So when you're learning some lessons along the way and you're sharing those as well, that's also a great way to build trust, because nobody's perfect. We're all kind of work in progress, and we're all trying our best to get to that next stage. So explain how the win happened, explain what you learned from some of the losses that happened also, and explain why it happened. Explain what will happen next, or what will you do going forward. So everything you explain, again, keep it very simple. So again, that's another aspect of transparency. Owning it up and saying, this is what has happened, this is how we're going to fix it, and this is what the way forward is. Or, this is exactly what we were looking to do. This is how the launch was successful. What happened? What did we do to launch in a successful manner? Something that others can learn from, right? So again, you're inviting your customers into what's going on, and they won't ever have to guess anything, because you're kind of being transparent. You're putting it out there for them. So take that guesswork away. They have no doubt about what you're doing, and the more they trust you and your brand, the more, trust me, the more you will sell and you will upsell, because again, there is that partnership that you've been able to establish with them. With this trust, you can also expect a certain amount of advocacy for you on your behalf from the people whose trust you've earned. So I find that companies who build that trust, there's a higher level of, I'd say, not just relationship, but also referrals that come in, right? So when customers trust you, they want to tell other people about you, what you do and what you stand for. And that word of mouth is a powerful tool, and on one of the, I'd say, the best ways to get more business going. And that all starts with a transparent approach with your existing customer base. So you have to strive to be an organization worth talking about, right? And that reminds me of another way to get people talking about you and recommending you to others is your core values. So you got to spell out your core values simply and clearly and stick to them and showcase that in your behavior. If you are like me in a services business, trust me, there will be small glitches from time to time. But your core value is to listen, understand, and fix it, and go that extra mile always. And if you are not showing that as a leader at the top, you're not training your employees or hiring your employees to be in that, to live those core values in their day-to-day operations or interaction with the customers, that's a kind of a mismatch, right? So you got to spell out your core values simply and clearly and then stick to them. If you say your company values customer experience, you have to quickly address your customer concerns with a smile on your face, right? If you hit a snag and someone gets, upset, then just make sure that you apologize and keep finding those solutions that'll, again, create more value for your customers and solve a problem. So if you say your customers, if your company values, let's say, accuracy, you have got to double and triple check whatever you put out there. All of your content should be written without an error, or everything that you put out, the quality assurance on a product. If a product must work in a certain time frame, if you have a warranty on a product, then, you got to make sure that your product is up to that standard that you've set for yourself. And if there is any sort of an issue, then you quickly solve it to keep that customer experience going, because that's one of your core values. So if you do ever mess up, just say so and correct your mistake. I mean, that's, I think, owning it up is the best way to make others feel that you're listening, and then don't just, stop there. Fix it and put measures in place to not repeat those mistakes. So sticking to your core values doesn't have to mean being perfect all the time, and that's not what I'm saying. In fact, if you come across that way, people may trust you less. So people want to see you as a human, personalized, and again, as I said, behind the scenes, good, bad, ugly, and humans do make mistakes, right? So humanize that experience also. Your company will be much more approachable if it comes off this way. Now, again, it'll make your customers also feel comfortable with you. If they feel comfortable, they will stick with you and likely tell other people too about you and your product and services, your employees. So here I'm only talking about the customer, but transparency isn't just about your outward persona. It's also about what goes on within your company too. So you should be sharing information with your employees at any instance that you get. It doesn't necessarily have to be constant stream of information, but a lot of companies will try to have an internal newsletter to keep everyone filled in on what's going on. We're a small company, small boutique agency. Not that we don't have an internal newsletter, but it's a great idea as I'm speaking about it. But one thing that we do is we have team huddles, we have team meetings, we have quarterly updates, and off and on from time to time, I would just show up on a video and just send out a video message to the rest of the team. So this practice has multiple benefits. You build trust within the company. At least that's how I think that I have built the trust within our company. You keep everyone on the same page, and you keep, the hearsay to a minimum, right? People can't talk about what they don't know if you make sure they always have the information that they need. So this practice has really helped us, and we have learned it the hard way. I'm not going to say we were always perfect, but when we started putting one of our goals out, and customer delight became one of our goals, then employee delight was an equal and important goal for us as well, and still is. So keeping that transparency and living those through your actions is very important, critical, and it's critical within our company. And it's just a great way to keep our employees on board, happy and proud of the place that they work. Again, we're not perfect. We're always looking for opportunities. So taking those baby steps is very important. So this will help with employee retention, I'm sure, and cut down on your training costs and, the unnecessary chatter and banter that many companies may experience. So I also feel that a company that keeps its employees happy looks good to the public in its own way. It'll also build trust with your customers as well. As I mentioned before, treat your employees the way you want them to treat your customers. So it starts with your people, inside people first. And people may say that any publicity is good publicity, but if people are talking about your employees issues at your company, then you'll likely lose some trust from your customers too. So work on your internal stakeholders and internal persona as well. Another way to gain their trust, by the way, is to make the prices in your business crystal clear. So that's, again, I'm talking about the customer side of it. If you, if you bring it down too much or are dishonest in any way about what you'll be charging, and people don't have any transparency, people are definitely going to lose interest in you. I remember of an instance when we're trying to bring on some clients, and those clients that we were trying to bring on, it was part of a group, where we could have maybe a few different customers from one niche market. And the major issue that those clients faced was non-transparent reporting system, non-transparency of activity. Of course, there were results, but they had no clue on their data and their marketing spend. So that was kind of distrusting for some, and people felt that they were kind of, paying for getting the results, but they're also at the same time hostage to this agency who is giving them no information on where the money is being spent, what activities or what tactics are really performing well, and they're kind of shooting in the dark, and there was no long-term win. So that's when these clients moved over to us. And if and I believe strongly that if you have this transparency with your customers on data, pricing, your processes, you have some crystal clear timelines or milestones set, you'll be in a better position, because being upfront about all these areas establishes higher credibility. So if you lose leads because of pricing or lack of transparency, which can be easily fixed, then look inside your business and say, how can we create that relationship with our customers and give them a view of what's happening behind the scenes to get them from point A to point B, right? Again, your business might be producing that transformation for your customers, but at the end of the day, if they don't have that visibility into what's going on behind the scenes, that may leave them either anxious or non-trusting. And you want to kind of completely diffuse both of those areas to win that customer trust and ring in those referrals and, have these customers be your brand ambassadors, essentially. So it kind of goes back to what I talked about with making mistakes as well. I mean, you can't just be perfect. So if you don't have that yet, don't beat yourself. Find a way to create that system and approachability. And if you're only focused on just sales, and anyone who isn't giving you money may feel like they're not worth your time, then you're never going to be able to create that environment in your company. So build that trust, because it goes a long way in building a great organization. And no one is going to trust a company that only cares about just money and sales and not about their end consumer and how they feel working with you and working alongside of you as a partner. So again, if you don't have core values, then build those, talk about them, let your customers know about your core values during your sales process so that they can align yourselves and themselves and see what you stand for, and then live those core values in your daily actions. Again, this could be a foundation for non-financial goals for your company and its customers and their, your ideal customer persona. But it's a very, very important way to build and establish an organization that has a strong foundation. So with all that, what do we have? Let's wrap up. To establish transparency, it's key that you be clear with all your information, including your pricing. You have to share as much as is responsible about your company, including not only your wins, but also your losses and your learnings. Don't just always be selling. Think about building that relationship. Your core values will guide you in this and help you in establishing and building that trust. So build trust, not just outside your company, but inside as well. Keep your employees at the forefront as well. People care more and more, not only about what a company does, but also about what they are and how they act. So transparency is one of the number one thing that customers are looking for now, especially when there is a lot of competition, and it will become very important in the coming years. It has become very important, I would say. So this is something that you might want to focus on and build that and establish that. Now, again, I want to also mention that, transparency could be built from one-to-one connections, but also you could use digital media to build that transparency. So email marketing, social newsletter, social media channels, building an internal email newsletter, putting out videos for your employees as well, bringing them into your sales processes, giving them the insight as to what customers feel also could be another way. Using a project management system for collaboration with your customers could be another way. So make sure that there is ways to build transparency in every stage of your business, and you are living up to those expectations that you've laid out for both employees as well as your customers, because people have had enough of scandals and corrupt companies. And as entrepreneurs, as business owners, it is the onus on us to build great companies and great environments for our customers as well as for our teams. And we want to kind of encourage that kind of entrepreneurship that, creates a good working environment, a trusting working environment, and it is the job of the leader. So before I let you go, I would encourage you to find one way over the next week that you will do to show up and be transparent, be with your customers and or your employees. It could be as simple as creating a post that tells people and gives them an insight as to what's happening behind the scenes, or what are you up to, or maybe just creating a post on your core values, or showcasing a story of how one of your employees lived a core value. Do something, but just act, because action does cure fear.
Thank you for listening to the Fuel Your Marketing podcast. For more episodes, visit www.fuelyourmarketing.com.